Jeane Coakley tries bench press 0 hours 1 minute and 15 seconds while at the 2019 NFL Combine. SNY's Jeane Coakley tries her luck at the bench press that is also used by the prospects at the Combine. The NFL Combine is upon us, and some of the best names from college football this season will be giving it their all during the on-field and off-field workouts in Indianapolis this week. One of the traditional workouts off the field is the bench press, which is set to test each prospect's strength. They will have 1 minute to count as many reps of 225 pounds. So SNY's Jeane Coakley decided to get under the bar herself to see how many reps she could pump out. August 12, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA, New York Jets general manager Mike Maccagnan reacts on the field before a preseason game against the Tennessee Titans at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner USA Today Sports Brad Penner, Ralph Bacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive Indianapolis. A year ago, Jets GM Mike Maccagnan knew he had to move up in the draft from No. 6 to number 3 to get in position to draft a franchise quarterback. Now, with quarterback Sam Darnold on board and the No. 3 pick once again in his pocket, he could be in the market to move down. And yes, he would even be willing to trade down to No. 6 in an exchange of picks with the Giants. If he gets an offer he can't refuse. Jets GM on plans for cap space 0 hours 1 minute and 4 seconds. New York Jets GM Mike Maccagnan discusses his team's major cap space and his plans to be aggressive in free agency this offseason. When the new league year begins on March 13 and free agency officially opens up, the Jets are supposed to be one of the most aggressive teams after some of the top names on the market. And their GM, Mike Maccagnan, confirmed that at the NFL Combine on Wednesday. Maccagnan and his franchise have everything to work with this offseason to lure free agents. Loads of cap space, estimated at about $102 million by OverTheCap.com, a fresh coaching staff that includes head coach Adam Gase and defensive coordinator Greg Williams leading the way, and a young core that touts players like Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in 3 straight seasons, but that streak could end next season if the Jets land the players they desire on the market. Maccagnan said a plan is in place. Adam Gase talks at NFL Combine 0 hours 1 minute and 5 seconds. New York Jets head coach Adam Gase talks about the new coaching staff looking to balance their roster out with free agency and the upcoming. Adam Gase addressed the media for the first time on Wednesday at the NFL Scouting Combine since he was introduced as the Jets' new head coach in January. Gase has now had some time to evaluate the players he is inheriting and was able to expand on his feelings on how he will utilize them and the potential he sees. Here are the takeaways from his latest press conference, February 27, 2019, Indianapolis, Indiana, USA. New York Jets head coach Adam Gase speaks to media during the 2019 NFL Combine at Indianapolis Convention Center. Mandatory credit, Trevor Rishkovsky USA Today Sports. Trevor Rishkovsky, Jets head coach Adam Gase confirmed Wednesday at the NFL Combine that the team will indeed be sticking with a 3-4 defense under new defensive coordinator Greg Williams, who has often run a 4-3 defense. That's the beauty part about hiring a guy that's been around for a long time, Gase said. He's done multiple things over his career. He's been both in the 3-4 and 4-3. The majority of snaps are nickel defense anyways. But sticking with our base being a 3-4 defense, and the reason behind that of trying to keep as many of the players that are currently here that understand that style of defense, is key for us to where now we're not completely starting over. We can keep a lot of the guys we already have. December 2, 2018, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown, 84, gestures at the line of scrimmage against the Los Angeles Chargers during the 4th quarter at Heinz Field. The Chargers won 33-30. Mandatory credit, Charles Leclerc USA Today Sports. Charles Leclerc, disgruntled wide receiver Antonio Brown and the Steelers have agreed it is time to part ways and Pittsburgh will look to deal the 6-time Pro Bowler this offseason. Follow SNY with the latest reports and updates on Brown. Feb. 27, 11:30 a.m. Interest has grown regarding a potential trade of Brown. Steelers GM Kevin Colbert said Wednesday, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL.com. Ideally you'll like to trade him to someone you'd never play. But if a team comes through with the best compensation you have to weigh that. October 28, 2017, Jacksonville, Florida, USA. Georgia Bulldogs defensive tackle, Trenton Thompson, 78, rushes as Florida Gators offensive lineman Jawan Taylor, 65, blocks during the first half at Everbank Field. Mandatory credit, Kim Clement. USA Today Sports. Kim Clement, bent thejetsblog.com. Follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to be reviewing some of the top draft prospects at each position to assess some potential candidates that the Jets will show interest in. We continue today with a look at the 2019 offensive tackle class. Jets needs offensive tackles. While the prevailing wisdom is that the Jets desperately need to upgrade on the offensive line, they don't have an urgent need to bring aboard a starter for 2019. August 26, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets acting CEO Christopher Wold Johnson left talks to general manager Mike Maccagnan before a preseason game against the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, Indianapolis. The Adam Gase era began 6 weeks ago when the new Jets coach took his seat in front of the media and said, well, mostly nothing. He barely gave a hint about his thoughts in the franchise or his plans for the future. On Wednesday, that could change. Both Gase and Jets GM Mike Maccagnan are expected to meet the media at the NFL Scouting Combine and will be quizzed a little more specifically about their plans for the franchise's future. They're likely to give more hints than actual direct answers. But here's a preview anyway of some of the key questions they're likely to be asked, and what they are expected to say. September 20, 2018, Cleveland, Ohio, USA. Cleveland Browns quarterback Tyrod Taylor, 5, runs away from New York Jets defensive end Henry Anderson, 96, during the first half of a game at First Energy Stadium. Mandatory credit, David Dermer. USA Today Sports. David Dermer. In another sign that the Jets are planning to keep a 3-4 defense, the team is interested in bringing back free agent defensive lineman Henry Anderson, according to the Daily News' Manish Mehta. The report says the Jets and Anderson's camp could meet this week during the Combine. According to SNY's Ralph Vacchiano, there had been no talks as of a couple of days ago. Anderson, who turns 28 in August, tied for the team lead with 7 sacks last season despite playing less than 60% of the team's snaps. September 30, 2018, Jacksonville, Florida, USA. Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Dante Moncrief, 10, celebrates after scoring a touchdown against the New York Jets during the second half at TIAA Bank Field. Mandatory credit, Douglas DeFellis. USA Today Sports. Douglas DeFellis. The Jets surely will be looking to upgrade at the wide receiver position while possessing a ton of cap space, and one potential option has emerged. According to the Daily News' Manish Mehta, the Jets are interested in free agent Dante Moncrief, who played for Jacksonville last year after 4 seasons with Indianapolis. On a Jaguars team with a poor passing attack last season, Moncrief managed 48 catches for 668 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. In 4 seasons with the Colts, Moncrief had 152 catches for 1,875 yards receiving and 18 touchdowns. December 2, 2018, Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Baltimore Ravens wide receiver Michael Crabtree, 15, makes a catch in front of Atlanta Falcons cornerback Robert Alford, 23, during the second half at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Mandatory credit, Dale Zanine. USA Today Sports. Dale Zanine. If the Jets are interested in a wide receiver, another option just entered the market. The Ravens released Wr. Michael Crabtree on Monday, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The 31-year-old receiver will have made $8 million from the 3-year, $21 million contract he signed with Baltimore before the 2018 season. LSU Tigers linebacker Devin White returns a fumble against Louisiana Tech Bulldogs at Tiger Stadium. Stephen Liu, USA Today Sports bent the JetsBlog.com follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to review some of the top draft prospects at each position to assess some potential candidates in whom the Jets may show interest. We continue with a look at the 2019 linebacker class. Jets needs linebackers. While there will be a defensive shakeup with Greg Williams bringing in a new system as the Jets' new defensive coordinator, it may not end up affecting the linebackers as much as initially perceived. Avery Williamson and Darren Leach basically had a full-time role in 2018, and that is likely to continue in 2019. Vinny Abriano, SNY.TV, Twitter. Some of the best movies ever, including some of the best sports movies ever, have been filmed in and/or take place in New York. Here is our ranking of the 10 best. 10. Above the Rim, 1994, Kirby Jets' Jamal Adams won't stop when it comes to trying to recruit top free agent RB Le'Veon Bell this offseason, and Twitter has been his biggest asset. The latest tweet from Adams to Bell came after the running back posted a video that talked about the different destinations he could choose from. The Jets were among them, and Adams jumped all over it by telling Bell to "Come help us win this Super Bowl, brother." Click below to see the tweet. New York Jets defensive end Leonard Williams and Jets linebacker Jordan Jenkins sacked Denver Broncos quarterback Case Keenum in the third quarter at MetLife Stadium. Robert Deutsch, USA Today Sports. Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. Greg Williams has a history of coaching an aggressive 4-3 defense, which he has been expected to bring to the Jets even though they've run a 3-4 scheme for years. That would mean not only a philosophical change but some big personnel changes, too. But what if Williams doesn't change the scheme at all? Apparently, he won't be changing the Jets' base alignment, according to a report in the New York Post. Several NFL agents have speculated that's the way the Jets were leaning in conversations with SNY over the last few weeks, but the Post said the decision has been made. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft walks the field before the AFC Championship game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots at Arrowhead Stadium. Kirby, USA Today Sports. Patriots owner Robert Kraft has been charged with soliciting prostitution in Jupiter, Florida, in a human trafficking investigation. Kraft was among 25 people charged by Jupiter police in a 7-month investigation, police said Friday. Florida Atlantic Owls running back Devin Singletary runs for a first down during the second quarter against the UCF Knights at Spectrum Stadium. Reinhold Mate, USA Today Sports bent the JetsBlog.com follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to review some of the top draft prospects at each position to assess some potential candidates in whom the Jets may show interest. We continue with a look at the 2019 running back class. Jets needs running backs. Whether or not the Jets will draft a running back in 2019 will heavily depend on how free agency plays out. The Jets are widely expected to be in the mix for Le'Veon Bell, and if they end up signing him, the running back position is unlikely to be a priority. Some pundits have suggested the Jets could target a less expensive back like Tevin Coleman instead. It was an interesting hire to say the least when the Jets brought on Joe Vitt for next season. Yes, he may be head coach Adam Gase's father-in-law, but teaming up with Greg Williams once again seemed like a problem waiting to happen. For those of you who don't know why, here's a little context. Williams, the Jets' new defensive coordinator, and Vitt, a senior defensive assistant working with the outside linebackers, were the two faces of the infamous Bountygate with the Saints from 2009 to 2011. After a bad departure following their suspension from the league, it was an educated guess that these two defensive minds wouldn't be on the same staff again. However, according to the Daily News, Manish Mehta, Williams and Vitt ended their feud years ago. In fact, when it was clear Gase's former defensive coordinator Vance Joseph was going to walk back in 2016, Vitt suggested Williams to his son-in-law. Williams went on to fill the Browns' same vacancy. December 10, 2017, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell, 26, celebrates with wide receiver Antonio Brown, 84, after scoring a touchdown against the Baltimore Ravens during the first quarter at Heinz Field. Mandatory credit, Charles Leclerc. USA Today Sports. Charles Leclerc. The Steelers will not be placing the transition tag on Le'Veon Bell, making him an unrestricted free agent, GM Kevin Colbert told Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. If the Steelers placed the transition tag on Bell, it would have given them the opportunity to match any offer sheet Bell signs with another team. Now, armed with roughly $100 million in cap space, the Jets could make Bell one of their top targets. But they could be facing an uphill climb if they do. August 26, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets acting CEO Christopher Wold Johnson left talks to general manager Mike Maccagnan before a preseason game against the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. A lot of people sure seem certain that the Giants are going to take Ohio State quarterback Dwayne Haskins with the 6th pick of the NFL draft, or at least one of the franchise quarterbacks to become Eli Manning's heir apparent. But there are still more than 2 months left and even the Giants don't know for sure what they're doing just yet. Picking something other than a quarterback is absolutely still an option. So what happens if that's what they do? It could shake up the top 10 a bit. Here's a look at one possible scenario. Bob Donnan, BentTheJetsBlog.com. Follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to be reviewing some of the top draft prospects at each position to try and assess some potential candidates that the Jets will show interest in. We continue today with a look at the 2019 safety class. Jets needs safety. When the Jets used their first 2 picks on safeties in 2017, that made it unlikely the safety position would be considered a draft priority for the next few years, especially since Jamal Adams and Marcus May had such impressive rookie seasons. However, while Adams went from strength to strength in 2018, May had multiple injury issues, missing 10 starts. December 4, 2017, Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell, 26, sits on the bench against the Cincinnati Bengals in the first half at Paul Brown Stadium. Mandatory credit, Aaron Doster. USA Today Sports. Aaron Doster. The Jets appear ready to make a strong bid for running back Le'Veon Bell as soon as the NFL free agent market opens on March 13. One problem, though, Bell might not actually be a free agent. The Pittsburgh Steelers are reportedly considering placing the transition tag on the 27-year-old running back, which would certainly complicate the Jets' pursuit of Bell. The Steelers have from now until March 5 to make that decision on a tag that is expected to be about $14.5 million for a one-year deal. And all indications are, they still intend to do that, according to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If they do use it, though, that doesn't mean he's off the market. In fact, several NFL sources believe the Steelers will tag Bell with the intention of trading him. Obviously it would be easier for the Jets if Bell were an unrestricted free agent and they could simply use some of their projected $95 million in salary cap room to shower him with money. But they'd still have other options to get him. October 14, 2018, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets defensive back Terrence Brooks, 23, celebrates during the second half against the Indianapolis Colts at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Vincent Carcietta. USA Today Sports. Vincent Carcietta. Already boasting a ton of cap space, the Jets now have even more room to work with. The Jets announced Tuesday that they're not picking up contract options on safety Terrence Brooks, DT Mike Pennell and LB Kevin Pierre-Louis. The 26-year-old Brooks just completed the first season of a 2-year deal. His option was for $200,000 and he was due $1.6 million in 2019, so the move clears $1.8 million of cap space for the Jets. Brooks appeared in 31 of a possible 32 games for the Jets over the last 2 seasons, starting once. December 1, 2017, Santa Clara, California, USA. Stanford Cardinal tight end Caden Smith, 82, catches a pass for a touchdown against the USC Trojans in the third quarter of the Pac-12 Conference Championship game at Levi's Stadium. Mandatory credit, John Hefty. USA Today Sports. John Hefty, BentTheJetsBlog.com. Follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to be reviewing some of the top draft prospects at each position to try and assess some potential candidates that the Jets will show interest in. We begin today with a look at the 2019 tight end class. Jets needs tight ends. Alabama Crimson Tide defensive lineman Quinnen Williams before the 2019 College Football Playoff Championship game against the Clemson Tigers at Levi's Stadium. Matthew Emmons, USA Today Sports. Ralph Bacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. The Jets need all the help they can get as they try to quickly rebuild in one of the most important off-seasons in franchise history. So they sure could use the pick near the top of the second round that they gave to the Indianapolis Colts. Not that the Jets would do it any differently, of course. Dealing that pick, and two others, put them in position to draft quarterback Sam Darnold, the most important piece in their rebuilding puzzle and the franchise quarterback they've been seeking for 50 years. So there are no regrets, no hindsight, and no wishing they still had two selections in the first 34 picks. The Jets do still have 2 picks in the first 2 days, though. The NFL draft is 2.5 months away and they'll have to get through the combine, the pro days and interviews before their draft board settles down. But here's an early look at what the Jets might do on days 1 and 2. BentTheJetsBlog.com. Follow on Twitter. Earlier this week, the Buffalo Bills announced they had signed former Jets center Spencer Long. The Jets had reportedly held out some hope of bringing Long back on a reduced salary, having released him last week. Now that Long is no longer an option, who could the Jets starting center be in 2019? August 12, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets general manager Mike Maccagnan reacts on the field before a preseason game against the Tennessee Titans at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. Ralph Bacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. Jets CEO Christopher Johnson made his choice on deck 30 when he fired Todd Bowles, but not Mike Maccagnan. It was a signal that he believed in his general manager, bought into his vision, and wasn't concerned about his spotty record. And Johnson insisted he would never give anyone a playoff mandate. Absolutely not, he said. The message from his actions are perfectly clear. This is Maccagnan's roster. Adam Gase is Maccagnan's coach, and this is the offseason Maccagnan has to turn the Jets from laughingstocks into a winner. In other words, as one of the most important off-seasons in Jets history begins, the pressure on Maccagnan is high. August 26, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets acting CEO Christopher "Wold" Johnson left talks to general manager Mike Maccagnan before a preseason game against the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. Ralph Bacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. The Jets are sitting in a sweet spot in the upcoming NFL Draft. They hold a high pick no. 3, in a draft that isn't thought of as quarterback rich. That means any team that wants a quarterback should want to move up to get their first choice, rather than wait and settle for seconds. And the Jets are just the type of team that should be very interested in trading down. For one thing, they already have their franchise quarterback, Jeff Burke. Last week, the Jets decided to let Spencer Long go, as they declined to pay his $3.5 million roster bonus. They were, however, considering bringing him back at a reduced rate for the 2019-20 season, per SNY's Ralph Bacchiano. So much for that. The Bills, an AFC East rival, signed Long to a 3-year deal, as he was a free agent once the Jets parted ways with him. CBS Sports' Jason LaCanfora reports Long's deal is worth $13 million that could reach a max $15 million with incentives. December 30, 2018, Seattle, Washington, USA. Seattle Seahawks defensive end Frank Clark, 55, pressures Arizona Cardinals quarterback Josh Rosen, 3, during the first quarter at CenturyLink Field. Mandatory credit, Joe Nicholson. USA Today Sports. Joe Nicholson, as the Jets consider how to improve their deficient pass rush, one of the biggest names set to become available might not make it to free agency. Former NFL agent Joel Corey, who works for CBS Sports, told the Seattle Times he believes the Seahawks will use the franchise tag on Frank Clark. The 25-year-old edge rusher recorded a career-high 13 sacks for Seattle in 2018, and according to Pro Football Focus, Clark had 69 quarterback pressures. November 11, 2018, Kansas City, Missouri, USA. Kansas City Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt, 27, runs the ball during the second half against the Arizona Cardinals at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs won 26-14. Mandatory credit, Denny Medley. USA Today Sports. Denny Medley. The Jets stuck to their word when it came to Kareem Hunt. The troubled 23-year-old running back signed with the Cleveland Browns on Monday, the team announced. He will join the Browns on a one-year deal and become a restricted free agent when the contract expires, per ESPN's Adam Schefter. Hunt was placed on the commissioner's exempt list after the Chiefs released him midway through last season after a video surfaced of the running back assaulting a woman in a Cleveland area hotel last February.